Fala pessoal, tudo bem? Tá no ar então mais um episódio da nova temporada do Sportheca To The Point. E nesse novo episódio a gente vai conversar com o Benjamin, um dos fundadores da SportsTechX, que é uma das grandes referências globais quando o assunto é o ecossistema de startups no esporte. Então eu vou trazer ele para o papo aqui. So Ben, be very welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here. And let me say something. Fundador sounds much better than founder, so I think I'm going to change my official title to Fundador.
Nice. So just warm up and start very well. What is your favorite team in Brazil?
That is a tricky one. I'm sure I can get in trouble by answering this. Can I be, I don't know, vague? Okay, I would say my favorite team wears a red and black striped jersey typically.
Okay. Yeah,
that's all I'm gonna say.
Okay. It's a good start. Yeah. So Ben, to jump in the main subject. So I just want to know a bit better about you. So can you tell us about your career before starting SportsTechX?
Absolutely. I'm trying to keep it short here. I always say I have a first career and a second career, and the first career had nothing to do with the second one. So in the first career, I studied economics, did a typical corporate career. I was actually always in the telecommunications industry and in some topics that were related to human resources. As you can tell, it's pretty far away from sports tech. Done different positions there, also some management consulting, have been in strategy departments of big corporations, and I just couldn't stand it anymore. I was like, no, this is not me. This is not how I want to spend my life. I have to do something more interesting. And then I decided to jump into the world of startups, entrepreneurships, investment, all these topics that sound so fancy and interesting from the outside. But the core really for me was to spend my time with interesting, dynamic people who deal with topics that are like up to date, that what keeps the world moving, like that talks about the future. And I tried myself within a year in different companies to just get a feeling for that startup scene and build my network. And after that year, it was pretty clear I wanted to do something on my own. And then I asked myself one question, which was, what can I talk about all day without getting bored? And the topics, I always say I had 2.5 topics. The half topic was the stock market, which is something that I like to invest in, but I don't really see myself working in that field. The other 2 topics were traveling and sports. And as you know, ultimately, I ended up in sports because back then I realized sports tech exists, but nobody is really talking about it or providing overviews. And that's how I started SportsTechX.
Nice. How about and talking about SportsTechX, tell us why did you start the company and what's the main purpose of SportsTechX and what do you exactly do?
I get a question quite often. For me, I always think, hey, it's so obvious what we do, but it seems like people don't always know. So I'm happy to explain it. The more people hear it, the better. So first of all, why did I start it back then? It connects a bit to what I just said. I just realized that there is fintech out there, medtech, health tech, whatever tech. But when I did my research, and that was early 2017, I didn't find much about sports tech. Like I said, nobody could really give me an overview or data about it. And first I was disappointed, but then I was like, actually this could be an opportunity, because it was pretty obvious that also the sports industry had to transform itself into a digital industry as well. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be the guy who collects data and publishes content. And that's how I started it. Luckily, met my co-founder Ron at some point pretty early on. And ever since we're taking things forward. What is the main purpose, you have asked me, is I would say in a nutshell, we give context to what's happening out there, because you read a lot of articles, you see a lot of news, you have a lot of buzzwords around sports tech. But what we like to do is, and maybe it helps that I'm German, so I like structure, as they say, and I've worked as a consultant. So I like to look at things from the top and make sense of it. So with the incredible database that we have of sports tech startups and the network that we have built over the years and the news that we consume, we can, let's say, tell the story of what is actually happening in sports tech. So we try to make this big field understandable for whoever is interested in this. So this is the main purpose. What do we actually do? To finish that question, you would probably mostly know us for publishing content. And content can come in various forms. Mainly, or the biggest piece of content are our reports. For the people who don't know them, every year we publish 3 geography reports. That would be the European Sports Tech Report, the North American Sports Tech Report, and the Asia Pacific Sports Tech Report. You will notice that South America is still missing, but let's come to a bit later. And also 3 other reports that are more topical towards the end of the year, which is the Global Sports Tech Venture Capital Report, the Football Tech Report, and the Fitness Tech Report. So mostly know us for those reports that are packed with data, insights, graphics, interviews, these kind of things. But we also have a podcast. So I'm actually happy to be a guest at a podcast. We have a newsletter, we have a blog, we run webinars. You can access our database online. So tons of content where you can get in touch with us. But, and that question always comes, we also make some money, obviously. We have to, because this is our main job. We get asked for consulting services every now and then. So this is a main thing. We have featured content in especially our reports. And our database has a premium function, so a subscription that is paid as well. Yeah, this is us in a nutshell.
Nice. How many startups do you have in your database?
Good question. I should have mentioned. No, it's more than 6,000 actually globally, and the beauty is that we have like manually gone through all of them. So we have tagged them. You can filter them. You can say, I don't know, show me a soccer startup in South America that has received funding and that uses artificial intelligence. And with the filters that we have, you can find that. And this is, for example, something that like all the big industry agnostic databases cannot do because they're not specifically tailored to a industry. Yeah.
Nice. So we can say that also many sports entities come to you to get data from startups and maybe some tips and they want to connect with startups, and you can say which kind of startup can solve their problems.
Yeah, it's so like the typical use cases are people who want to invest or work with startups who come to us and who would like to gather data about the market. Right? Because there is no good data available out there for free. And as I said, I think we have really good data. So they, want to know what is out there, who are the most interesting companies. And of course, they want to see the competitive landscape of those companies. And they want to get a feeling for the facts and figures, the numbers, like download numbers and these kind of things. You can say we are in some way a matchmaker. Absolutely.
Nice. And I saw, I think a few weeks ago, a new kind of content, like a funny content in the YouTube channel, right? When you test out some technologies.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing this up. We have a tendency to lately make us look very stupid in front of a camera and publish this. It's a side project that
but
we started.
It's very good. It's very nice because maybe the clubs or some other sports entities doesn't know how to manage this kind of technology, and it's good that you already tested. It's a short.
Thank you. I'm happy to hear. Yeah. I mean, the initiative is called Hello SportsTech. So the website is also hellosportstech.com. And we said, hey, we come across so many interesting companies and products out there in sports tech. Why don't we actually test them and show people how that works? So now we're also explaining sports tech not only to the business side of people, and we still do obviously, but also the end consumer of those products, which would be the people who like to either do sport or watch sport, or that are just interested in those solutions. So we're testing products, we're enjoying it, and we'll see where we can take it.
Cool. So I know this topic. You may be a bit tired of talking about that, but I think it's important to understand your point of view about that. So how do you think that the pandemic affected the sports tech ecosystem, and what kind of outputs can we take from this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm from the Rhineland region in Germany, and they say we are very optimistic people here. So I also want to answer that question in an optimistic way. I want to compare it a little bit to what's happening in the fitness industry, and fitness and sports have a big overlap, as you know. So, I mean, what we have witnessed, especially last year, is that people are using the at-home connected fitness solutions massively, right? It is a trend that started before the pandemic, but I think many people have the opinion now that the pandemic only accelerated that development. So it didn't just happen because of the pandemic, but it was there before. And I think if you look at the sports industry in general, that is true as well. There were some developments that happened beforehand, but that only get accelerated during the pandemic. And I would actually this is simplifying a bit, but I would split the sports industry in two parts. There's one part of the industry that is really, really struggling. That is mostly clubs, teams, leagues, associations. So everybody who was running games, matches, leagues, broadcasting that, they are struggling because the fans are missing. The interest went down in many cases. So they're struggling. But struggle always means that people get triggered and they know that they have to change something.
The creativity comes from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes people need a kick in the behind to start something, and I think that is actually true, because what we're witnessing already early in the year, we get quite many requests, or more requests than last year, of people who want us to help them with those digital solutions, who want to understand the industry. So I think that is a good sign. That is the one part, and the other part of the industry, especially let's say fitness related, I would say, they are massively benefiting already. So they're running around with big smiles on their faces, especially the investors. So, I mean, both is good ultimately. Like I said, I'm an optimist. So that is it from my point of view.
Nice. So another question is, if, in your opinion, what is the biggest, could be a positive or negative, I don't know, impact of SportsTechX in the sports tech industry right now? Obviously, bringing the data, but I think you solve many problems, many data problems. We don't have many information, and it's a really nice initiative. We as Sportheca, we consume a lot, and also when we have the chance to spread a little bit the information in Brazil, we do, and always referencing you guys. So, but I would like to hear from you as well.
Well, ideally, first of all, thank you. And ideally, that's exactly what I think it should be. Coming back a bit to what I said before, our main purpose is to give context, to explain what is happening out there. And I think by doing so, we ideally inspire people to do something. We have seen many people who said, okay, thanks to your content, I finally understand this or that. Or we have a feeling who are the big players in the market. I mean, it's simple things as, for example, who have been the top 10 most funded sports tech companies in last year. This is an important overview, but nobody did that before, right? And with this, people start to understand what that industry is, how big it is, that it's a legit industry. And I mean, in the best case, we contribute to that industry to grow because people understand it. They have the context. They want to do something. They want to get involved. And that ultimately helps us as well. So in the best case, if we want to be very broad, we help the industry to grow, to come to maturity, because there are still lots of initiatives who are, let's say, not so mature or need to be a bit more professional. And in the best case, we have contributed to that development in some way. I think I can and shouldn't be more specific in which area we're helping or not. We'll see.
Yeah, nice. And how about the startups, the sports tech companies? Do you think that the sports tech ecosystem it's helping the industry to overcome its main challenge right now with the pandemic and other challenges that they already had?
That's a good question, actually. I mean, it depends on what stage a startup is. I mean, the early stage startups, probably not so much. I guess what the industry right now needs is two things. Companies who are more like scale-ups, who have solutions that are ready. I mean, one really good example is it's also a German company, sorry about that, but it's Kinexon from Munich, right? Actually started more on the analytics tracking side of things. But then when the pandemic hit, they decided, okay, actually the industry needs help, and they developed those tracers here that are now used by the NFL, the NBA, and I think they announced it this week or last week that the MLB is going to use them as well, which helps the leagues and the teams to operate in that special situation, right? So I would say, to come back to your questions, I think it's more like the already more mature companies who are helping. And then it's the startups who I would like to say give inspiration or impulses. For example, we're seeing some very interesting startups for broadcasting. You know, those fancy overlays that you can put on top of your stream, where you can also interact with the game. You have some cool new stats and these kind of things. So it's a mix of more mature companies helping to secure the day-to-day operations, and some startups who give inspiration. But I think the effect we're only going to see, I don't know, maybe half a year from now, or even later.
Yeah, and we see in Brazil, which is our main market, we see many people trying to start new startups, and there is a huge barrier, at least in Brazil, which is the management of the clubs, which is kind of politic in Brazil. Yeah, here in Spain it's a bit of a mix, and I think in German it's a bit more professionalized. And you think the clubs, the sports entities already got it. I mean, they see that they need to digitalize, they need to innovate and so on.
Absolutely. I mean, it is clearer than ever, and everybody has it on their agenda. I mean, especially coming from a European angle, and also, let's say, from a North American angle. I think they get it, but I think there has to be some groundwork to be done. Because unfortunately, even though if you come across an interesting startup and you say, okay, this is exactly what we want to work with, that is typically also connected to you having the right infrastructure at your club. And that is a very unsexy topic, right? Having the right system, right data, right APIs, and these kind of things. The right people. That would have been my next point. Yeah. So all the groundwork, systems, people, knowledge, also money available for it in these times, right? So there are some hurdles to overcome, but I'm sure that will happen over time. For me, the most interesting thing is that that clubs and teams and leagues start to experiment in whatever way is not so important. Some take part in webinars, some run virtual accelerators, some have innovation days, different kinds of formats. For me, the most important thing is that they have the mindset, they start exploring it, and then it's just a matter of time, I think. And some clubs are doing a really good job under the radar. Some clubs are more like on the PR side of things, where you can maybe ask, okay, what is actually happening? But something is happening that's a good first step.
Yeah, I think we will get there. At least for example, in Brazil, we have a lot of problems when it comes to implement a new technology, a new startup, for example, in a club, because most of the clubs doesn't have the innovative mindset or culture. So the people inside of the club, inside of the areas, they're not prepared to deal with it. So it's a bit tricky, because we have in one side many startups wanted to bring new solutions, and on the other side maybe the clubs are not prepared in some markets. It will take a bit longer.
And then there's another thing to that, fitting to what you just said. Many clubs still are used to deals that put them very much in favor, especially if you have a big brand. You have a big leverage towards those tiny little startups. They're so happy to work with you. They're almost desperately looking for a cooperation like this, but they can sometimes hardly survive under the conditions that they get from the big brands. So that's also a tricky point. Yeah,
we always said to the startups, try to make the club pay something, even if it's a proof of concept, something like this. Because otherwise they will just trying to make something with their brands or something like this.
Yeah, tricky field.
Yeah, for sure. So we saw in your last global report that came out in 2020, I think, right? That the Brazil was number 5 in the top 10 countries in SportsTech by funding, right? For the past 5 years, if I'm not mistaken, because of the huge impact of Gym Pass deal, right, in 2019.
Exactly,
yeah. But how do you see that the Brazilian market in the future when it comes to sports tech and funding and the growth of the sports tech ecosystem?
And that's a tricky question. So it's very much guessing here, but I will take a shot. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I said it before. We have reports that target the big sports tech markets in the world, and for us, it's North America, Europe, and Asia Pacific. That excludes South America. We have looked at the numbers before, like how many startups are there. How much investment do they secure? How many accelerators in innovation labs and these kind of things are there? And we just said, hey, it's not enough yet for a standalone report. I mean, of course, we were debating a South American sports tech report, but we need a bit more content there, a bit more numbers, a bit more startups. And I truly believe that this will happen at some point. Again, it's just a matter of time. And I think there are good signs from especially also the Brazilian market. So in the last year, I've seen multiple sports tech events popping up out of Brazil. It's still a bit confusing to me who is doing what and how many are actually out there. I don't know, maybe you can educate myself on that. But my perspective far away from Europe is there were quite some events and initiatives there. Nothing that really stood out where I'm saying, hey, this is mind blowing or something. And what I also like is that also in Brazil that clubs are starting to explore. For example, maybe you've seen our football tech report. We spoke to Atlético Mineiro. They are doing something in that field as well. You mentioned the 300 million investment, which is a good sign. So, I mean, we always say, hey, especially Brazil, just one thought, especially Brazil. I mean, I'm giving you the obvious thoughts now. Football crazy, fitness crazy, big population. Why wouldn't something happen there? I don't see many reasons. So it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, for sure. There is some initiatives, as our initiative, for example, our innovation campus in São Paulo, and also our little hub here in Spain to connect the startups in Brazil with the European market. But yeah, in Brazil, it's starting, as you said. It's a matter of time. There's some initiatives, as our initiative, as you mentioned, Atlético Mineiro. It's a client of us, so we're working with Atlético Mineiro in their initiatives. For example, the super app they just launched it a few months ago. We developed for them, and it's been a huge success. And they already get it. They know what they are doing. They already set a path where they want to go, and it will be a really nice case study in the future. We hope. But yeah, in
Good
Brazil,
job then.
yeah. Thanks. And so, any tips or insights for some entrepreneurs in Brazil, for example, they want to start a startup in the sports field?
Ooh, not a broad question here.
Easy question here.
yeah.
because just a little bit of context. In Brazil, when it comes to I want to work with sports, or you're gonna be an athlete, mainly a soccer player, or a coach, or you will work in the marketing, something like this. The innovative area and even the development area or the startup area, it's not an option, So we're trying to foster the ecosystem in that sense.
Why do you think it's not an option? Do you have any idea?
Because there's not a culture of working in sports. There's many barriers to enter in sports entities. It's something like really, really tricky,
Yeah, understand. To answer your questions, any tips? Two important one, at least for me, come to mind. It's nothing you never heard before, but I still think it's important. First of all, think about what you really like to do. Whatever idea you have, whatever field you go in, is it something you want to spend so much time on? As I said initially, so my question was, what can I talk about all day without getting bored? I said sports, which is very broad, right? But whatever you do, does it somehow fit to your interest, maybe also your strength, to what you have done in the past? For example, I'll give you an example. For myself, I would probably not be a good guy for a startup in the sports field to produce something. I'm more like the guy back from my consulting days and the strategy department. I like I said, to look at things from the top and compare and see what's going on. Like I'm benefiting from people being innovative. That's what I always say. So my position is rather the one on the sideline, making sense of this all. Maybe another person is a person that likes to throw him or herself like in the middle of things where everything is happening. Long story short, think about what fits to you. What do you really like? Is that I don't have to say you have to burn for it. For me, that's too extreme. But is it something that you genuinely enjoy and that you like to work on? And that's one thing. And if that's a football analytics startups, great. The other thing is, what is super important is I think you have to educate yourself a little bit or do your research. Of course, you should read our reports. That's step number one. But no, joke aside, just really make sure that you have some at least basic understanding of the industry. Because sometimes we see initiatives where we're like, okay, there are already, 50 other companies doing exactly the same. And even though the idea itself sounds tempting or interesting, or maybe you like to work on that, you also have to be realistic and ask yourself, is that something that has a good chance of succeeding and to develop into a legitimate business? So these are the two things. Ask yourself, is it really something that I like to work on? And secondly, educate yourself a bit on the market. And then there are tons of other things that you should do, and you should network, you should build a good team, and all these kind of things. But the ones that I just mentioned, something that you like, and educate yourself. I think these are a good starting points.
Cool. So to finish off, what are your expectations for this year when it comes to sports tech ecosystem funding, something like this?
Yeah.
And what are the plans? Yeah. What are the plans for SportsTechX for this year?
I like your questions. Good questions. So first, what do I expect for SportsTech? You know that we are very data driven. So we are super curious where the investment numbers will go this year. The year started good. We had a good month of January. Then last year, everything broke down a bit until September. So my big hope is that SportsTech will have, like, just from the investment numbers, a breakout year. That is my hope, and my expectation is that it's going to be a very good year. Another thing regarding investment that we found interesting, that we observed carefully, is the whole SPAC discussion. So the special purpose acquisition company trend that is going on. You've seen almost weekly, definitely, but almost every day, a new SPAC being built for some acquisition. So that is an interesting topic that we believe is gonna go mainstream in sports this year. So that's gonna be interesting. From a topic field, a bunch of things. I mean, fitness, I don't have to tell you that a lot of things will happen there. We're especially interested in how the recovery business is going to develop this year, because there's evidence that this is going to be super hot this year. Also, what the fabulous guys from Fit Insider describe as the rise of the fitness creator is also interesting. Like a little bit of the Shopify approach, not the Amazon one, like giving power to all the fitness instructors out there who do great exercises, great workouts. That is something we are curious about. And then we always like to see the odd new topics or trends popping up. Might it be, I don't know, digital collectibles or other interesting stuff. So we're curious about that one as well. And otherwise, we hope to see some cool stuff in broadcasting. Like I said, fancy overlays, interaction, maybe some AR stuff. Not really so optimistic for this year, but at least want to see some first tests over there. Coming back to the second question, what is happening for SportsTechX this year? I would say we are a well-oiled reports content production machine that we're going to continue working on some interesting products or projects with clients. Some of them under the radar, some will be announced at some point. So that is important for us. And we're really curious where we can take this Hello SportsTech initiative, where we showcase the cool things in sports tech. And by the way, we are soon launching, when the podcast is going to be published, I think we have launched it already, a weekly live show in which we talk about the top 5 sports tech news of the week. But we're going to explain it to friends and family, let's say the average person who is interested in sports tech, to transport the message of what sports tech is to the mass market. So we're really curious about where we can take it with Hello SportsTech.
Amazing. So Ben, I would like to thank you for being here with us. It was a pleasure, and we hope we can maybe in the future make something together between Sportheca and SportsTechX. Always when you want, we are here to collaborate. And thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm still envious that you are sitting in such a nice office in a stadium. So that gave me some food for thought.
The people didn't see that show.
Yeah, see, look at that. Yeah. I'm sitting in my living room. Good for you. So I have to talk to some local sports teams to see what I can negotiate there.
There's many over there. I played in the 10th division in Germany.
Yeah. I mean, we have some stadiums, and we have to find one of them who lets us sit there.
For sure. Cool. So thank you very much, Ben.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good day. Cheers.
You too.